Go ahead, Eric.
Take it away. So, being an awesome slacker. So, around this, I'm probably a mediocre slacker, and so I'm hoping to rely upon all of you to help. So, this is really more of a setup to a roundtable discussion to pull you guys in, to tap your knowledge, to get your cool ideas on how we use Slack. So, here's our little agenda, some cool updates around Slack. There have been some new releases come out and some neat little features. We're going to touch on a few of those. Some resource links to check out to learn even more information about Slack. We'll do the breakout sessions to gather ideas, have you all have conversations around how you've used Slack. Slack has become one of those critical tools that we're using at Arizona State University to keep us connected, keep the university running. And I know all of us are incredibly curious and excited to figure out what hacks you've learned, developed, figured out with Slack, how you've poked and prodded and really made it work for you individually, your teams, and your department. So we're looking forward to seeing the output from our breakout sessions. We'll come back together briefly after the breakouts, and we'll gather some takeaways from there, and then we'll just open it up for questions. For the breakouts, we'll cover it again, but if you could select someone to take notes in the breakout, we'll post the link to the document that we'll be taking notes in here when we get to that section. So Slack's released a new client update that is now available to all ASU, and there's some kind of neat little highlights that have popped up in there. These are just top level overviews, some things that I found helpful. The first one is a quick actions with shortcuts menu. Down at the bottom when you're composing a Slack message, there's a little lightning bolt. If you click on there, it'll pop up a list of quick actions that you can take from within there. So you can create meetings, you can open up and create new files, you can post a little fun little Giphy in there, you can do all sorts of fun things, but it's also quick access to some automated actions. We're looking at building that out more with more automated actions as time goes on. So check that feature out. It's kind of a cool one. The other one is organizing conversations with custom sections. This is something that I absolutely love. It used to be that you had to star something to have it pop. Maybe you wanted to organize your Slack channels in a different way. You couldn't do that. Now you can. They've added this feature, so these are just some of the ones that I've created. I also like you can put the little image next to it, so it's a quick visual representation of what's there. So alerts. This is all of the Slack channels that have alerting in them. I put it under that so I can quickly see when an alert comes up. Key contacts. These are folks that I'm engaged with very frequently, so just to keep them in a spot so I don't have to go digging to try and find them all. Projects. Any Slack channels that I have around projects, I've put in there. Incident management. I thought the fire truck was kind of cool, so I thought that was a pretty good representation of incident management. Under that, we have the OC War Room. We've got some other Slack channels that pretty much all incident conversations happen within. And then different teams, and I've got a whole list of categories that I've created. But that one has been probably the coolest, most helpful thing for me recently. So I definitely encourage you to dig in and look at that one. Also, the addition of the write a message from anywhere in Slack on the desktop has been amazing. You just go up there, you click there, put the person's name in, Slack channel, a group of people, and just start typing and send. So you don't no longer have to navigate and bounce around different areas to send messages. They just have that quick button right there. Other things that aren't on here, they've updated the mobile client. So some of the features that you see here are represented within the mobile client. A little disappointed with the mobile client right now, and I'm hoping I'll catch up. I haven't figured out how to create the categories from the mobile client. I have to do it from the desktop client. and then it transitions over to the mobile client. Also, on the mobile client, it shows all of those as expanded. So it doesn't have them collapsed where you can expand it. It's just all of them are expanded. So I have well over 100 Slack channels I'm involved in, and it's quite the long list on the mobile app to go dig through. But the thing I love on the mobile app, it does bring all the Slack channels and direct messages that have unread messages to the top so you can quickly navigate. But I think the desktop client does it better with the all unreads. I live in the all unreads. If you have a lot of Slack channels, it's probably the best way to go through and see what's been posted. Instead of opening up each individual one, just go to the all unreads and you can look through it. You can respond. The cool thing about responding within the all unreads area, it automatically threads under the message. So that's one of my tips to everyone. Use threading as much as possible, because when you're starting a conversation in a channel and there are 4 different conversations going on, with threading, it's easier to track. Without threading, it is so hard to track the different conversations. So if there's one thing I would encourage you to take away from this is use threads, use threads. Onto the resources, really a couple of the best resources that are out there is Slack's own help site. So it's pretty easy, slack.com/help. The one there in the middle, using Slack, breaks out into some great categories. I've spent quite a bit of time digging through that one. Definitely recommend it. Also, if you're just trying to find that specific thing and you're not wanting to browse, their find anything features has been really good, so recommend that. On the ASU end, we have our Slack space I also encourage you to check out. So the uto.asu.edu/Slack. We have basic Slack tips. Slack is a digital campus. We have communications kits in there. If you want to create a new workspace, we have a request a new workspace. So a workspace is different than a group. A workspace would be if your organization does not have a place to gather everyone to have a conversation, or you're running a club, or you're wanting to pull people in from outside the university for a specific thing, the workspaces might be it. If it's a group that you want to gather people in from across your department and extend out to other areas of the university, groups can work. Our OC War Room is a group that's shared with several other workspaces across the university, allows us to collaborate within that space. So similar little tweaks, similar little features to it about gathering folks together. A new workspace allows you to create a bunch of subgroups under that. So think of a workspace as our IT community is a workspace where we can create subgroups under there. A group is just one individual group. So something to check out if you're looking at wanting to kind of create a more rich experience for folks that you want to Slack with. I saw the girls that code and I started thinking about, do they have a workspace with subgroups in there to have conversations, to jump into, volunteer, to participate in. So something to think about. Those are the big resources that we have. Now we get into the meat of what I was hoping to get to, and that's our real interactive breakout sessions. You guys are the stars of this. Slack is a community tool, and this presentation wouldn't be right if it wasn't a community presentation. So I'm going to have Gage break us out into different groups. It's going to be kind of random. We'll post the link in the chat before we break everyone out to get to the Google Doc. If you don't catch the link, the button on the agenda that you pushed to get into the Zoom session, right next to it is the link to the Google Doc file that we'll be using. So if you don't see the link pop into chat, feel free to go over there. Nominate or assign someone to be the point person for your group as the note taker. And then what we'll do is we'll gather back after about 15 minutes. We'll pull everyone back together into this room here, and we'll go through each of the groups and have each group kind of share their big takeaway or idea or a quote that may come out of the group. So at the bottom of the 2 questions area, there's a takeaway if you want to note that. And then once we're done, then we'll head back to the larger plenary, and we encourage you guys, if you thought of some cool new way to use Slack or how Slack could better improve communication or automation within ASU, please feel free to share that when we get back into the plenary session. So 2 questions that we're going to be asking the groups. 15 minutes. I'm going to end the presentation here and stop the share so I can pop in the link to the Google Doc in the chat. And I will have Gage get us broken out.
As a side note, I'll also broadcast it to all the rooms so they can access it from there.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Just one moment real quick. All right, Eric, I'm going to have it technically try to add you and go ahead and just decline going to the room.
Okay. I think we have everyone back. Wow, thank you guys so much. That was actually really cool. Wanted to go through each group and see if someone from each group could share 1 or 2 kind of takeaways that you guys came up with. We'll start with group 1.
I'll go ahead and start sharing there. Eric, for group 1, we had a couple of good responses. Basically, to the first question, tips and stuff, not sure who said it, but using the unread, her tip was to pay attention to what channel faculty, to what channel. And then another person brought up faculty are hesitant due to other apps to manage. So encouraging faculty to settle in on Slack is a #1 priority. And one guy said, you know, he pushes his RS feeds to Slack. That's been very helpful. And a lot of other things he's pushed to Slack, which has cut down tremendously on the amount of emails he gets. And then examine what apps to integrate into Slack was another comment. One person said they uses Join Me, the Zoom Join Me, and he said the lessons learned from that was to be sure you sign into Zoom before you use it to get all its features. So that's some of the ideas that came out of our group.
That's awesome. Thanks, Chris. How about group 2?
Unmuting helps. I'll take that one. We had several ideas, a team Slack channel that's both social and work, and I use that extensively. We use that a lot in our group where with our new modality, and my group covers pretty much works from 6 in the morning till about 2 a.m. at night. So we've got people coming in on different shifts. So check in and check out. We've got to run to the grocery store, back in an hour, that type of thing. So you know who's on and who's not at any given time. Using very heavy on the /Giphy functionality to respond to issues. It adds humor and polite snark and whatever else you need. The /Remind feature to set reminders to yourself, so you just get a Slack message to remind you to do something. We mentioned /Zoom again. That Slack has replaced walking over to somebody's cube or office to ask a question. It's just become the natural flow of things now. Talked about threads and how threads really help to keep a conversation together, so that if you've got 3 parallel conversations going on, you can keep those conversations grouped. And then we talked a little bit about sections and how that's really helped organize the hundreds of Slack channels and direct messages we've got going in this new modality. That's us.
Awesome. Thanks, Ruby. How about group 3? Brian, Taylor, Tracy, anyone want to be bold? Okay, we'll move on to group 4. How about group 4?
I'll take over for group 4. My name's Haley Tyler. We talked about Giphy and how it's kind of brought a sense of humor to just all of these Slack channels that we all kind of work in. So it's been fun learning how to use Giphy and sending different types of GIFs and stuff like that. We talked about private channels for fast action and temporary action. I work at the Sandra Day O'Connor College of Law, and we actually set up a Slack channel for everyone in our workspace. And if they have questions for anything IT related, that's my department, they can quickly send us a message in Slack. And that's been really helpful to cut down on our use of our ticketing system for a question that might really honestly be like a 2-second answer. Saying, hey, I'm just trying to learn how to do this. Can you just send me a link real quick? Super easy to be able to just send a private message or send a message to our IT channel so that you can quickly get your questions answered. We also talked about using Slack to facilitate phone calls. It's actually really nice if you want to just talk one-on-one with somebody really quickly. You can actually call them through Slack. I find that tool to be really useful. We talked about the poly polls, the /poly polls. Somebody mentioned that they use it and they send a poll every morning with like some type of like just fun question. What are you doing today? What are you doing this weekend? Helps the team kind of stick together and get to know each other a little bit better while we're all working remotely. And then somebody else mentioned they are now able to organize their channels with the new update that you mentioned earlier, Eric.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. How about group 5?
I don't mind speaking for our team. This is Lauren Leo. I think we've talked about a lot of the same things that we enjoy: call functionality, Jiffy, and all those things. Some of the group mentioned the integrations that are really helpful, especially with ServiceNow. And then also using pound to remember things and come back to them. Sean mentioned the code block functionality that she uses that a lot when sharing code as an instructional designer. And then I think it was Yoshi who just mentioned it's really interesting to see kind of the norms that evolve over time and how people respond to messages within different groups and teams. So that was more of just a observation and point of interest.
Thank you for sharing that. How Slack has changed the way that we communicate and expectations around communications. Kind of a fascinating transformation, particularly over the last few months. So, great insights there. Group 6.
I'll go ahead and speak for group 6. As Eric knows, we're at the OC, we're trying to figure out how to come up with a lot more custom alerts. We want to see things from SolarWinds, et cetera, other monitoring tools. How can we get them integrated so we can just be monitoring Slack? And this also gives me the opportunity to talk about what we're going to roll out real quickly. And it's something that the security team already uses, and it's specific incident response channels. So in the very near future, when we start working P0, P1, and probably P2s also, we're going to stand up a specific channel for that incident. And all work will happen in that channel. There will be no back channels when we invite the players in that are going to help us respond and fix whatever the incident has to be. We want them to be in that channel, do the work there so we can have documentation. When people come in and out of the channel, they'll be able to see what's going on. So that will be rolled out real soon. So other than that, we had a lot of different things in there, but I think a lot of other groups have already covered them. Although, we did have, there's targeted audit channels. We had our auditor, our ASU, one of our ASU auditors, David Jones, on the use. And did we want to talk about what we want it to do at this point?
Sure, yeah, we have a few more minutes before we're going to be joining the larger group. So yeah, if you have one or two, yeah, please share them.
one that came up was better way of searching. And one of the things I always have a trouble with is I was just in a direct chat with 3 or 4 people. Which ones were they? Going in, trying to figure out where they were and how it's lined up. So.
Good one. Thank you, Kevin. How about group 7? Going once, going twice. Anyone brave? Lucky 7? Okay, we have the comments in the sheet. So thanks, group 7, for typing that out. Group 8, any insights that you would want to share?
I can do it, I guess. It's kind of basically a lot of the same features that other people did. The biggest one was the remind feature. A couple of us, we really love that feature, to be able to just have those instant reminders. And then a couple that we didn't know about that I guess have been there, that other people have mentioned though, is the direct phone call and the directly being able to go into Zoom. So we definitely want to look into that because that sounds very helpful. And for the things that they were hoping for, and I don't know if the remind works with this too, but somebody mentioned wishing they could set a time to send a Slack at a later time. So if you're up late at night doing something and you want to tell somebody in the morning, just make sure to, or if it's on the weekend and you just don't want to get it to them till Monday morning, be able to say, hey, type up the Slack and then send it later. And maybe an automated cleanup or archive of channels. If they're not used for a few months, because you can join and be created and then they just sit out there for a while. And somebody mentioned less channels to be a part of, because there are channels being created and more, and then some do the same thing. And yeah, it's getting to be where I know at first I think it was to replace email, where, you know, let's have less emails going through, but now you go through into Slack and you've got dozens of channels highlighted that now you've got to go through and read all of the updates to all of the channels too. So it's just kind of replaced a little bit.
That's a good one, Jennifer. The Slack etiquette that came up last year. So what's the etiquette around Slack, particularly around the spin up and spin down of channels? When is it the appropriate time to archive? So yeah, I know that the team that oversees Slack has those conversations. Nathan Corwin and I have conversations around that quite a bit. So yeah, how do we keep it clean and relevant while being extremely flexible and supportive of our needs? So
right.
Good one there.
And then there was one other thing with that, I think too, that they talked about the direct message channels and how there's only so many and they fall off.
Yeah.
So as far as it's like, so if you get it, you're having a multiple conversations, it's like, oh, where were they and who was I talking to? And then they're just not visible anymore since there's only so many that show at a time and how quickly it fell off. That'd be nice to be able to keep them out there longer or have them sorted, most recent, something like that.
Yeah.
But okay.
Good point. Thanks, Jennifer. And group 9, we've got about a minute and then we will get everyone back over to the plenary session.
All right, I'll take that one real fast. A lot of it was covered by the other groups, but we noted that there's far less email that we receive now, and one of the best parts of that is that spam doesn't make its way into Slack, which is amazing, and that there's no accidental reply alls. Again, the remind feature was touted as something that is highly useful. We talked about how it's enabling more collaboration and empowerment to create your own channels. So everyone throughout the organization is doing that and keep things on task. And then some useful things included an email flow that takes VIP email and shovels it into a Slack channel so that you can respond that way. And then a couple things that we talked about, wishes. One, which I just kind of answered myself, the call icon, rather than using Slack's built-in call feature, replacing that with Zoom. And then another is having an LTI integration for Slack in Canvas so that channels are automatically created based on courses.
That's awesome. Thanks, Jeremy. Thank you all. This is a lot of great insight. I hope you learned something new from each other, and I hope you enjoyed having a chance to come together as a community and share. With that, I encourage you to join the plenary session that's starting here at 11:15. The link is here, but there's also a clickable link on the agenda. Thank you again so much. Please stay safe, enjoy, and have a wonderful rest of the week and weekend.
Thanks, Eric. Nice job, Eric. Thank you.
I'll go ahead and leave this meeting open for a bit while everyone gets a hold of the link. It's also in chat if you need a clickable link there. And then as we end, I'll go ahead and end the meeting.
Thank you. Thanks, Gage, for everything. Really appreciate your help.
Not a problem. I was happy to help out.
And congrats on graduating. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. Very happy.
Are we able to keep you?
If I end up getting a job at UTO, yes.
Sweet.
I actually applied to, I just spaced the name of it. It's, I think, technically 2 above classroom support. Like Chris Knapp and Travis McCoy and some others work that same position. So I applied there, and then ideally I'll get into either a cybersecurity or coding position, but we'll see.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thanks again. I will see the remaining folks over at the plenary. So have a good one, everyone.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
Sure thing. I'll leave this open for about another probably 2 minutes or so, and then I'm going to have to go ahead and shut down the meeting. Hey, Frederick, or I don't know if you prefer Fred. We're actually
Hi, are
headed.
we in a group?
I'm sorry?
Is this a breakout group?
Kind of. We're actually heading back to the main plenary session now.
Yeah, I'm just waiting because I just stepped out and I was with quite a few other people in another group, and so I was just thought we were going back to it. So.
Oh, I see. Yes. I have the link in the chat again. We're heading back to the main room now.
All right, cool. I'll wait. Thank you.
Not a problem.